Everything we did was purposeful. We didn't go to the hockey rink without being in Logue gear. We didn't go to the hockey rink without sponsoring our kids' teams. I certainly wasn't going to sit down and waste an hour watching little kids play hockey, as much as they're cute, without being able to say, hey, I know you live in this community. You live in this community. Did you see that crazy sale that just happened in your neighborhood? Yeah. One thing I learned in this business was to be over-informed, and it is a major part of my reputation, is that people know they can walk up to me and be like, you know that house behind the fire hall? And I'll know it.
Did that get your attention? Good. That was Sarah Logue from Team Logue. Find out how Sarah went from this.
Hi, my name's Sarah Logue, and I work for Remax Escarpment.
To this.
Welcome home. I'm Sarah Logue, here on behalf of Team Logue and Remax Escarpment.
And the whole story in between. If you don't know Sarah, look her up. She is a rock star agent selling upscale communities in Burlington and Oakville with a phenomenal team behind her. Sarah has broken records, and her superpower is being an area expert. Sarah is with us today. I'm super excited, and I'm proud to call her a friend, and she is going to tell us everything it takes to be an area expert, how she started, and how you can get started as well. It's phenomenal. So, don't worry about taking notes, because I've got some right down in the comments for you, and my hope is that you get some gold nuggets out of here to transform your business. Take a listen. Okay, we are here on this podcast to change lives, as Kyle would put it, okay? I have got Sarah Logue here with me, and I'm super excited to have her here. I've been wanting her on for quite a long time now. And Sarah's got a unique set of skills that we are going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about what it takes to be an area expert, okay? A neighborhood expert, however you want to call it. But niche markets, and how Sarah developed her business and took over Millcroft, Burlington, Oakville, and even into Milton and the surrounding areas, right?
We did.
So for me, I was first introduced to Sarah as the queen of Millcroft. So my cousin was like, have you ever heard of Sarah Logue? And she's the queen of Millcroft. And I didn't even know. I mean, I couldn't give a shit what Millcroft was at the time because I'm in Rockwood.
Fair enough.
Anyways, and then it came up again when I jumped on Remax Escarpment, and he says, yeah, that's Sarah Logue's office, the queen of Millcroft. And we still didn't connect until you were looking for your brother's place out in Guelph. And then we kind of, bumped into each other a few times. And I remember specifically, I said, well, we had a house up for sale, and your brother was willing to pay a certain price. And I came back to you and said, well, you can have this price if your brother, or you can have this house if your brother just comes up. And you said, I already told you no.
I do mean it. Yeah.
And that was it. So Sarah's got a kick-ass team, and we're going to talk all about it today and how she started. But I look at your team like, a highly tuned, skilled group of people that know their market extremely well. And, I admire you guys, and I'm a big fan. So
thank you.
That is why we're here. But she is very direct for you guys out there. So don't let her scare you. Okay. She's great. So let's get started. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So how did you get into real estate? What was your mindset the early years? How did it start?
I have to blame Chris Logue, my husband.
Okay. Yeah.
He always wanted to be in real estate. He always wanted to be Mr. Monopoly.
Okay.
And we bought our first property in Guelph when we were 19 and 20. And we still own that property today. And my son lives in it for the University of Guelph. It's his student housing. So he was the one who said, Sarah, this is ridiculous. You come from a huge business in Chicago where you're constantly moving big business, moving big real estate. Let's move back to Canada and sell real estate. And I was like,
it's a great idea.
I was like, I don't think so. Every real estate agent I know is a little bit, And every real estate agent I'd ever transacted with was not really running a business. They were just, it was like, oh, this is great. We can show you this house.
They're running themselves.
Yeah, it was very casual. So he basically put the test to me, and I did it. I did my courses while I was on mat leave, and I thought, okay, well, I have a new baby. How hard can this be while I have a new baby? But it quickly changed into, I don't know how to do anything halfway. Yeah. So I just ran full at it and discovered that there was a lot of room to actually run a business in our industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do see that a lot in our industry. It's like agents are so transactional that they don't spend the time into the marketing and developing.
Right.
My lip chap. Okay, so go on. So you had your license before Chris.
I did. He always wanted his license first, but he wasn't a test taker.
Yeah.
And I can write a test in anything. So he was like, well, my wife will take the test and she'll be able to tell me about it. But
fair enough.
Yeah. He did it. I think he got his license a year after me. So we've both been licensed for almost 20 years.
So I guess let me ask you, I mean, a side note here on Chris, because, like, you get all the credit here, but I know every time I come to the office and say hi, he's always there.
Yeah.
So just touch on his role.
So Chris Logue, we just consider him the unicorn.
Okay.
And he is the mass networker. So agents, and I don't know if you get this, they come to your team and they're like, just put me in front of someone and I can convert the deal. And I always try to remind agents the hardest part is getting in front of someone and getting that trust. And I was laughing at the team just last week because I was saying, here's the listings that are coming out for the week, like I do every Thursday. And everyone's like, well, where did they all come from? And I can literally root back every listing to a relationship with Chris Logue. Yeah. So he is out in the community constantly. He's constantly connected to people. And I think just his nature, he's so trustworthy. He's so straightforward. He lives the business every day.
Yeah.
It's not like Chris Logue the dad, Chris Logue the son, Chris Logue the agent. He is just one.
Yeah.
So he just brings in a network to us that trusts us.
Good.
Yeah. He's amazing that way.
Invaluable.
It really is.
Okay, cool. Well, that's interesting because I just thought he did nothing, And I'm like, must be a great life.
He also stands behind me going, you're amazing, like pushing me up, right?
Yeah. He doesn't need to be the spotlight, right?
No.
Okay, that's cool. So for you guys out there, Chris actually does something, okay?
Does a lot.
So I've got a young family myself. You've raised a family in real estate. You've been in real estate for 20 years. You took the course when you were on mat leave, okay? Yep. How did you juggle that? So, like, we've got 20 years. Sarah Logue wasn't the queen of Millcroft right away. How long, did it take to get some notoriety in the industry? But then how many kids you have? You have three, right?
Yep.
So, like, how did you juggle that with, being available to your clients? Because, I mean, that's some of the hardest part in our industry, while taking all the kids to sports, schools, etc.
Chris and I were fortunate because we were both licensed. I think to be able to go at this industry that hard and that fast, you're supposed to either really needs to understand what it means to be in real estate. But we were laughing the other day explaining to a new agent that has kids in our team, and we'd be like, well, at least you can DocuSign, at least you can email things. Chris and I used to meet in the parking lot and switch out of cars. So one of us would be in the car with all the car seats and the kids, and then the other person would get in that car, take the kids, and the other person would go back to the client, right? Or we'd literally be passing on the highway and hand a deal off to each other. So because we were so interchangeable as parents and as agents, it worked, right? But it was like getting one person all the time, right? It was the only way we could do it.
So my folks are very much like that. They both sell 4 kids.
Right.
And that would have been back when you actually presented offers.
All the time. And pulled them off the fax machine and we're handing them to Chris off the fax machine, right?
And then if you got multiples, you'd have like 3 or 4 cars sitting out front. And
it was great. And I'd invite them in. It was fabulous.
It
was fun. It was a lot of fun. But we learned also, and I think part of the reason we learned to farm the area we were in is because we couldn't go so far afield. Right? We had to go from the hockey rink to a listing appointment, from a listing appointment to put the kids to bed. So we literally moved our family into our neighborhood and made our neighborhood our family community so that we could be close to our kids.
So did you find, I notice a lot of real estate women in particular where their children get to a certain age and then they just explode. Mm-hmm. Did you find that it was like, okay, 10 years, the kids are in a good spot, I haven't screwed them up too much, and then you exploded, or was it a little more gradual for you?
I think the reality...
Did you make a conscious effort to like, okay, I'm doing this.
I did. I remember looking at some of my favorite agents at the top of the rankings and thinking, oh, just you wait till my kids aren't in diapers. Like I remember having that drive about that, knowing that a lot of my time could be taken up with my kids. And I think once they were very independent, and I think being a real estate parent, you do get very independent children.
Yeah.
Like I'm very impressed with my kids' success because they were forced to figure things out.
Yeah.
But it did allow us to grow our business into a full-size business once they were all functioning adults or functioning humans. Yeah.
So what year in real estate do you think you got the moniker the Queen of Millcroft?
It was a lot earlier than I think that then the business actually caught up to it because we were working in our community so heavily. And because Chris and I were walking real estate, agents wherever we went, we didn't change our identity.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like, oh, Sarah's picking the kids up from school. She's one of the moms at this local school. It was, there's Sarah Logue. Like she is a real estate agent who is picking her kids up from school.
And you weren't like a secret agent, right? Like we do get that a lot where people are like, if someone's like, who's a real estate agent, people are afraid to put their hand up.
Right.
Right. And they almost feel ashamed sometimes of it. And I find like it's not happening here.
No, and I'd never go to the school parking lot without knowing what the current active listings were, without being through them and without being able to speak to them. So people got used to me coming to the school parking lot and holding court about what was going on in the market.
So does everybody hear that? All right. That's a conscious effort to do the research before picking the damn kids up at school. So it's like you think you're prepped going into a listing presentation.
Yeah.
All right. She's picking the kids up from school. So like, there's a different edge right there.
Everything we did was purposeful. We didn't go to the hockey rink without being in Logue gear. We didn't go to the hockey rink without sponsoring our kids' teams. I certainly wasn't going to sit down and waste an hour watching little kids play hockey, as much as they're cute, without being able to say, hey, I know you live in this community. You live in this community. Did you see that crazy sale that just happened in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
One thing I learned in this business was to be over-informed, and it is a major part of my reputation, is that people know they can walk up to me and be like, you know that house behind the fire hall? And I'll know it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I make sure to read and absorb all the information every day.
Yes.
Right?
So I guess with that, tell us a little bit about your team structure. So if somebody doesn't know you, if you can give us anything, like how many admin do you have? How many agents do you have? If you can give us any insight onto numbers or the amount of deals or anything like that.
We're really admin heavy. So I always believed in service was the end all and be all in this business. So there's a lot of teams that have like a quarter of the admin I have. So I carry 6 admin, 2 full-time stagers, a team manager, and only 12 agents.
Okay.
So my agent's job is to get out the door and service our clients. Everything else they need, whether it's a closing gift, a package, a mug, a sign, a rug cleaning, whatever, the team takes care of it for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything.
And then, so what type of, like, how many transactions are you guys doing a year?
I don't even know how many we finished so far this year. I know that I'm 22 behind this year.
Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. But your GCI's up.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay. And then how many listing appointments would you go on a weekly basis?
In the spring, like right now for this week, I'll hit 18 listing appointments, knowing that I'm layering them. So I work very hard to have the next year set up in the year that I'm in.
Okay.
So I'm always looking at, okay, well, you're next April, you're next May. So I do spend a lot of pre-time and a lot of time with each client that way.
Are you primarily doing the listings that come in, or do you have other dedicated listing agents on your team?
I do have other dedicated listing agents on the team. I do run a partnership on my listings, so I always take what I call a second chair, and it's another agent on the team, and they will be responsible for setting up the staging consults, setting up all the cleaning, setting up the painters, setting up everything on that listing, and then working with them on their buy, so that my clients always have access to me for any conversation they need, but they don't feel like they have to call me because an agent's late for a showing.
Yeah. And then once again, those agents that you're hiring, like, I mean, I would guess that they would have some strict protocols and training involved in that,
Absolutely.
Right? Because you can't toss them off without, like you talked about you and Chris being, one person.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess for agents out there, how do you get the confidence that that your agents are going to act as Sarah would act?
Well, it takes a lot of time. So every time I go on an appointment, I look at it like a training opportunity. And maybe that's why I run my appointments so clean and I am so informed. I never have an opportunity to run a slacked appointment because I always have a second agent with me and they're always treating it as a training opportunity. Mm-hmm. So whoever's sitting next to me is getting to watch Sarah at a listing presentation, Sarah at a price reduction, Sarah at a negotiation, Sarah at multiple offers. They sit every appointment with me.
So you're not doing that alone?
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good because most people learn by watching and doing, right? Like that's how I would do it. Some people are book smart that way, like yourself. You're like a good test taker. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
It does force agents, so I can take someone on 3 to 5 appointments, and then they know by the time I get to about a 5th appointment, I say to them, I'm going to let you hit the curb. So I stand back and I mute, and I'm like, let's hear it. What do you think of the market? And they go, and they're on stage in front of a client. Yeah. And I know if they're going to hit the curb, I'm going to help them back up, but they've got to try it in real life.
Yeah.
And why not try it with someone sitting next to you that can save you?
Yes. Yeah. And they're not practicing out on their own.
Right.
Fair enough.
So I know where their weak spots are, and it's very easy to correct them.
And for you, you're hiring based on more of how much they know, how much they've been in the industry, mindset.
It's all mindset. It's all their moral ground line that I really look for. So how much are they willing to help someone and how much are they willing to put their client ahead of them? Yeah. If someone comes to me and says, I have to make this much money this year or I'm not staying in this business, well, then they're probably not for me because I'm looking for someone who is success motivated, right? And their money will follow them for sure, right? The financial gain will come. But if they're not really willing to put themselves out there all the time for the success of their clients, then they're probably not going to sit next to me in an appointment.
Mm-hmm. No, that's important. We sell in smaller communities, and most of the people that we run into, they want to know 2 things, right? They want to know that, you know what you're doing and you're knowledgeable, okay? And that you care about them, right? And I think you can't play that, right? No. That has to be in you or not. I remember when I first started selling, my dad would always tell me that he's like, don't think about the money, think about the people first, and then the money will come after that.
Your dad's brilliant then. That's exactly how real estate agents should operate.
Okay.
Right?
Good. So we're on the same page.
Yes.
Okay. That's why we get along so well, Sarah and I have a great back and forth. We always lend a hand when we can, and it's a great working relationship. So
it is. I appreciate knowing you're up here for sure.
Great. Okay, so let's dive into why we're here and the true focus. So if somebody's out there that wants to be, the queen of Millcroft, okay, they've got to pick a different neighborhood, okay.
Or you can come in.
Oh, you can come in. Yeah. She's enticing you. You see that? There's competition. But tell us, how did that start? And what does it take to be an area expert? Where did you, you said everything was calculated, okay? Mm-hmm. In our industry, and we talked about this before, when you look at service areas for agents, especially young agents in our market, it is like they would go Mississauga, Brampton, Georgetown, Orangeville, Oakville, Milton, Hamilton, Windsor, you name it. There's not an area where they do not service. And the more I'm in the industry, the more I appreciate the local experts because they do have a local insight.
Absolutely.
And even myself, I'm guilty. When I first started, I think Rockwood, we've got 2,600 homes in Rockwood.
Wow.
Okay? You can make a great living here.
You
can,
yeah.
But I was always like, well, Guelph, we've got 120,000, now 150,000, and Guelph's where it's at. And I didn't really take into account, where I grew up and my base. And I was always, for 10 years, even maybe a little longer, for 10 years, I was always searching for
another pocket.
Yeah. And then my wife and I, we said, well, you know what? If we're going to be running around, we didn't want to be driving an hour away all the time for all our listings, and let's suck it up. Let's consolidate everything, and then we really went gung ho on the service areas: Acton, Rockwood, Erin, and we do a lot in Guelph. But this is where our base is.
Yeah, and you do a great job of it because you know it, right? And I think that's how you have the trust of your clients and local colleagues, right? Is knowing that I can call you and say, is this house overpriced?
Yeah.
Like, why is this way? And you'll know exactly why.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah, it happens to have a waterfall that, spews gold in the back.
Yeah.
You'll tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I find when we're dealing with non-local agents in our pockets, you're fearful for their clients because often they don't know what the local factors are around that house. And I'm constantly calling non-local agents saying, just as an FYI, did you know about this development coming in? Because I noticed you don't have it anywhere in your listing. I just don't want to be competing against you and you're not sharing this information.
Yes.
Right? When it came to actually zoning in on a neighborhood, I did run the stats on the neighborhood to look at turnover rates, right?
So what's that look like?
Well, now it's a little less, but it used to be well into the 5s. So when the neighborhood was younger and divorce was higher, it was higher, sad to say. Now it'll switch to downsizers. But you have to know, just the way you did, what the demographics of the area that you are trying to farm.
Yeah.
Now, I always say I have a little bit of a leg up because I grew up in the neighborhood that I do farm.
So just for everybody too, when you talk about 5, right? You're talking 5%.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
turn around.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Sorry.
on a year, guys, 5% of those homes are selling. Okay, and then she's trying to take market share. So Conrad always used to say, "You'll never get 100% market share as much as we want it." But you guys need to know that 5% is a good number, right? Because normally you're
It's a great
hovering around
number.
3, 2,
I
and
always
3%.
say 4.2 is a great neighborhood. If you're going to shop a neighborhood, as long as it's about 4.2, you're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
And Conrad and I would agree, 100% market share isn't success for you because now you have no one to compete against,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And if you're the superior person or providing the superior service, you want someone to compete against, right?
Yeah.
You really do.
And it pushes everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But we got to grow up in the neighborhood. And I say we, my husband and I got to grow up in the neighborhood that we actually farmed. And it was that knowing that every day we stepped outside the door, whoever was on the sidewalk was a potential client.
Okay.
So we never went anywhere where we weren't real estate agents.
So you guys, so you live in the neighborhood.
Always.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you lived in the neighborhood when you got your license?
Yes.
Okay.
So we knew the neighborhood. And then out of sheer convenience of not being able to make it to all these where other agents were driving to Windsor or Sarnia or Mississauga, I was like, I can't do that. I can't afford 2 extra hours in the day.
Yeah.
I got to get to the next client. So I kept everything so tight and created those relationships. Now we spent a lot of time creating relationships in community, right? Whether it was being at the local hockey rink, whether it was being at book club, whether it was volunteering at the school, whether it was sponsoring something at the school. You have to be really entrenched into your community to be that expert. And then you have to have the knowledge of the community.
Yes.
Like it was impossible for agents to come up to me and they'd be like, oh, that's that model. And I'd be like, no, it's not. And this model actually pushed out 5 feet. I can tell by standing in it.
Yeah.
Right? But you had to know that information to become the expert.
And who the builders were, right? Like a
Oh,
lot of
that's
those
an easy,
subdivisions,
yeah.
they used to have a developer,
Yeah.
and then the developer would sell the lots to builders. Now the builders are developing them all themselves,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
But okay, so that's interesting. So then, do you think that you have to live in the community to be an area expert?
I've never not lived in the community, but I mean, I've lived in most of the communities I sell or own properties in the community I sell. I don't think you actually have to live there. I think you have to play there regularly.
Yes.
So maybe you live outside the community, but your kids go to school there. Yeah. Maybe you just started with one listing in that pocket and decided, I'm going to learn every model in this house. I'm going to learn every intricacy of this neighborhood. I'm going to learn what the population is in this neighborhood, what the cultural pulls of this neighborhood are.
Yeah.
And then you can become an expert. I mean, I think a lot of our pull there was that we constantly ran events in the community, right? Okay. I found it really hard within even 2 years of the business to get to everyone I needed to talk to all the time. And I learned very quickly to put myself in one room and invite everybody into that room.
So did you, so then the mindset going, you grew up in the community and you're like, okay, I'm just going to sell real estate? Or did you have this conscious effort to say, hey, Chris, let's just dominate the area, like DAW, dominate?
I never thought about dominating it. My push was always to service an industry that I thought had room for improvement.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I went out and thought, I'm just going to, have all the signs in this neighborhood. My passion was, I want to make sure these people have the best experience. This is an incredibly stressful thing they're doing. And often it wasn't a good thing. right? If I gave you my stats on divorces, it's heart crushing, right? Or death or illness or just a job loss. We want to take our community and make sure they're safe and that they're not compromising the value of their house if that's going to be able to make them get out of the situation they're in.
Yeah. And the more you get into it, the more you realize the standards from other competing agents are quite low. Right. Yeah. And I see that quite a bit, especially in our area here, like just people that come in. I see like we have a lot of great local brokers here.
Yeah.
It's just when somebody for our area, since we are very much a commuter town, we get a lot of people like agents from Mississauga or agents from Brampton that just don't know it.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, we have great competitors. You and I have great colleagues. We work in an incredible company. Yeah. Right. But for sure, you're going to run into people that are it's just their hobby. It's not their career.
Yes.
And I always felt sick if I walked away from a listing knowing they were going to go with the hobbyist and not with me. Like I had failed them in that hour-and-a-half presentation to understand that I was going to take better care of them. I was going to ensure they were going to make more money on their house than the hobbyist. That's when I know I've messed up.
Okay, yeah, it's because it's funny because I always when I leave a listing presentation, if I lose that presentation because of commission or if I lose that presentation because of somebody's overpriced it and bought the listing, I'm okay with that.
Right.
What really gets me, is with a competing agent in our area that I know charges the same and offers similar, and I'm always thinking, okay, what was it?
Right.
Right. Sometimes it's personality, right? I'm not for everybody,
No, and I say that to people all the time. I am not for everybody. Not everyone wants to hear the blatant truth when they come in, and I could tell when I switched out of my U.S. platform coming back into Canada that a lot of people found me very aggressive. Yeah. And I always remind our agents at the end of the day, like residential real estate is very emotional. Yeah. So remind yourself to support people in their emotional journey. And if you can't do it with true empathy, then you probably shouldn't be selling their home.
See, I mean, it's funny you mention, aggressive because like and I'm not going to hit you here, but like I do find that you are, like you're calculated, you're straight to the point. And my wife always bugs me. She's like, oh, you're like best friends with all your clients, and she's like, why don't you like have a little bit of a space? And she's right in the way, because then you can have those realistic conversations. Like, listen, there's no point on pricing it right here because it's just not even going to move. And I don't think I'm the person for the job if that's the case.
Right.
So I think like with real estate, we have a real hard time because it's such a personal business. But you like somebody, a mutual client of ours described you as like a boss babe. Okay.
A boss babe. That's a new one even.
And so I just find it even when we were chatting the other week, and you had clients and you were talking to them about they were worried about selling during COVID because they're going to lose money now, and you said, well, you got 1.9 during COVID, your house is worth 1.6. Yes, you're selling on this one and you're at a loss, but it's only a $70,000 loss.
Right.
So they were making $230. They were losing $70, but they had made $230, and it was such an interesting concept for me that I thought, holy shit, she is the queen of Millcroft.
I wanted to slap you that day because I had to spend an hour with them
I
coaching
know,
you.
and that's what I was like. I'm like, who's really good at this? You should give Sarah a call. Right? I'm like, I still signed the listing, but you should call Sarah. So like, I guess, okay, so let's get back to task. So you immerse yourself in the community. Okay. You cannot be a secret agent.
No.
Okay.
No.
You have to know the stats. You have to know the floor plans. You have to know the builders. You have to know the upgrades. Lot premiums are a big one, right?
Absolutely. That's just a base knowledge information. Know it.
Yes. So then, I mean, just when you came in here, people were talking about, and I'm reluctant to just do Millcroft because I know you're bigger, but I just find it so fascinating that I could hear about you before even joining the brokerage. But so like even before we came in here, you had, there's development in your neighborhood and people are asking you and you're telling them to, phone the developer. It's not.
Start your own lawsuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's now you have to go and do research. So even as saturated you are into your market, you're still like, okay, I got to go home and do some research.
Yeah, you can't know enough, right? And I think you keep hitting on it. So many people are hidden and don't share with people their real estate agents. If you can't stand on the platform that you're proud of what you're doing and that you're going to do a good job of it, why not? Make that correction, because there's no time you should ever go to a mall, a coffee shop, and not have people know you. Yeah. I mean, I was at an event last night and it took me an hour and a half to get to my table, right? Because I want people to know who I am. I want them to know I'm in real estate because I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and it's confidence as well, right? Like,
sure.
The more you know, the more confidence you have,
yes.
And then when you're in front of people, right? Like we just finished having a meeting with our guys, and when you're door knocking, stand up straight, look them in the eye, right? And be articulate, be loud.
Maybe not as loud as you.
Maybe not as loud as me, but that's I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Because if you're confident, then your sellers are going to have confidence in you. Mm-hmm. But I look at our area too, and like, for instance, we are, it's 40% of our population here in Rockwood is 55 to 75 and plus. Okay.
Right.
Which is why bungalows are so freaking important here. Okay.
In all of the country,
right?
Bungalows are important.
Yes. And so for us, we know, like, if a bungalow comes on the market, right, we have bungalofts, and they're dual purpose because families could have them. So we know that now all of a sudden the target market even expands.
Right.
But even knowing that and explaining that to people, I found that they say, well, geez, we didn't hear about that, or we've interviewed a couple other agents and they haven't even talked about that before.
But why wouldn't you say to your clients, I mean, I laugh, I say to clients, let me put you on my list. Let me guess, you want a double car bungalow with not too much property, but enough property to still cut the grass, and you want it to be $1 million because you want to take $500 to $1 million out of the sale of your house. Yeah. And I always say, the list starts way at the back of my office, and it doesn't exist, that product, in my area. I can get it here sometimes, right? I can throw that to you. That the reality is, if you come to that appointment and say, hey, a bungalow selling for 11% more than any other product in our marketplace. So even though you're going to feel the pain in selling of having to negotiate off a number you don't want to negotiate off of, the product you're shopping, so are all your neighbors.
Bang.
No, but that's the information you have to present.
The difference is that most agents would say, okay, yeah, I'm going to keep my eye out for it, and I'll let you know. And then they get set up on a search, and they'll never communicate with them again. I think having that conversation with people, like saying, like, $1 million, I always use the word ambitious, okay? And it's a little ambitious, and it's not going to happen in this market.
Right.
But having, like, just telling those people that and saying, well, the lineup's way over here, it's very interesting, because now all of a sudden it changes their mindset from, well, I've got to clear this, because values, like I always tell people, the value of your bungalow isn't based on how much you need to get out of your house.
No.
Right?
Or anybody. Everybody will say to you, I have to get $1 million. I have to get $2.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I might need 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You'll get it, right? Like, that's what my dad always says. You'll get it. It's just how many years it's going to take.
And I think that if you're talking about today's market and today's agent, one of the cautionaries is you're using words like, that might be ambitious. You're softening that blow.
Yes.
As where agents will say, well, I hope it works. Yes. I hear that all the time. I hope it works. And I think, okay, it's our jobs to be the professionals. It's our job to present the facts. It's our job to present what we're seeing happening every day. The seller may not have sold their house for 25 years. How could they possibly understand what's happening every day under our feet? Yeah. Right?
And that's the difference.
Give them the truth.
And I think, and that's where, like, you may come across as, what did you say before? Aggressive, right? But I like, to me, okay, I respect that. And I think that, I'll be getting something from this video, but I think a lot of people out there can as well, just by how they talk to agents. Because if you say something like, well, I hope we can find that, you very well might still find them a place and sell them a house, but it's going to take a year. Because then all of a sudden they're going to show a house, they're going to lose out on the offer, they're going to show more houses, you're going to show them 20 houses, and eventually you'll get one, because they're going to come to terms with what's happening in the market, right? It'll take you a year.
But you're setting...
This approach takes you...
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
If you set unrealistic expectations for your clients, you are no longer the expert. All you are now is the training ground for the next agent that gets to step in and show them the truth.
Yes. And then we get what every other agent does is water cooler talk about how much they don't like their clients.
Right. Or my agent can't sell our house. Well, no, because you've got it priced $500,000 off the mark because they played the game with you that they hope this is by some miracle, someone who's uneducated or some agent from out of area is going to show up and sell their house.
Yeah, or the best is, well, we can put it up here, let's see. And I always tell people it's not a let's see marketplace.
I just tell people, honestly, I don't have time to babysit let's see.
Yeah.
I sell people's homes. So if you're in the market that you need to sell your home, not try to sell your home, but you need to sell your home, I will happily help you.
And the risk is that you lose that listing, right? Talking that blunt to somebody now.
But are you losing the listing?
For a lot of agents, right, it means so much to get the listing that they lose sight of the sales process, price points, and how fluent it can actually be, right? So like if you think it should be under $1 million, some agents will be like, well, $1,050,000, maybe 1.1, and now all of a sudden you're another 30 or 40 days on market where you're not taking that listing.
But what are they doing? If they are actually trying to create a market share in an area and they overlist that product, they're saying to the community, this is what I think the truth is. And when it doesn't sell, they've failed the community. Yes. So why wouldn't you force the truth to come out of the situation versus, well, let's try it. Every time I do the let's try it, every time, and I teach myself this lesson every year.
You regret it.
Yep. Because all I'm doing is setting up my poor seller for failure. All I'm doing is answering 100 agents' questions about, well, Sarah, why did you price this one here when you sold the last 90 here?
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, too, it's more of a mindset for you as well, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, so I guess... I mean, that goes back to, you're really going to, if you're an area expert, then you should be having these tough conversations with your sellers. Okay. Yeah. Like you're known for that, right? Like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
No, I leave every appointment right now. And I'm like, I'm not the bearer of like exciting news.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not. If you need to understand what your financial situation is, I'm going to give you the truth.
Yeah.
What you do with that truth will be your choice.
Yeah. That's nice.
Well, that's all you can say.
So give somebody out there. I want to list my house. I want to list my house 10% higher.
Okay. So what is your goal? Why are you selling your house right now?
It's because we want to downsize. We're going to retire in the next few months, and then we want to do some traveling. Okay.
So is the traveling only going to take place with the money from this house?
No.
So Jen, do you really need to sell this house right now?
No.
Okay. So why do you want to sell the house then?
It's just a lot of upkeep.
It's a lot of upkeep. So can you calculate what that upkeep costs?
Well, grass cutting, eave troughs, driveway sealing.
Okay, so plumbing. Let's say you're $10,000 a year.
Okay.
Right? Easy peasy. The reality is you want to move on with your life. It's not about cutting your grass because I can give you every service under the sun to do that for your home right now. And you only paid $500,000 for your house and you want me to sell it for $2.5 in a market that's selling for $1.8. Am I on the right page?
I don't like you anymore.
I know you don't. But do you want to sell your house?
Yes.
Okay. So our reality is, here's the average that everything's selling for. Here's the average of everyone standing out in the market that's been sitting there for over 100 days. Which grouping do you want to be in?
How do I make it stand out?
Well, I'm going to give you those details.
Perfect. Okay. You see that? So as opposed to just agreeing with them, like it's a disservice to your client if all you're doing is agreeing with them. You're supposed to be the expert.
Exactly.
Right?
I don't think you have to be, it's not even aggressive or mean. It's just people want to hear the truth. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are just information seeking. And I'll say that to people all the time. If you just want some information from me to understand what's going on in the market, I am more than happy to do that. I love seeing every house in my community. I love knowing what's available. I love knowing that maybe in a year I'm bringing you a buyer because you fit one of our clients.
Yes.
But if you just want to try this against all odds, against all the facts that I'm showing you that you say you understand, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm completely lost. Yeah. Why are you 10% more? Give it to me. Give me the new kitchen then. Is the new kitchen going in next week?
Yeah.
Like, give me what I'm missing.
So, I'd always, like, I use it as a buyer's side too, as like, sometimes with our buyer agents here, I would say, sometimes it's very hard to explain to your client that they've got to pay $10,000 more for a property, that it's in their best interest to do that.
Right.
As well as a seller. Sometimes it's a benefit that you explain to them that they shouldn't list here, they should list right here.
Right.
So I find that interesting. But the difference with you is that you have enough knowledge to be able to have these conversations.
But as agents, if we're being called in and we're all seen at the same level, don't you think we should have that respect for our clients to go in and make sure we're educated? And and if you don't know, this is when I love an agent in my area. Call me. If you're working in my area, please call me. Sarah, why did you sell that house for $280,000 more? I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think, guys, that's important too. So, like, if you see Sarah, don't turn your clients on to her like I do, but you can at least call her and get insight. I mean, even like I had a call this morning about another agent with a house in our area. We're getting no action. What's going on? Can you tell me what's happening? And I was calming her down, and I was talking about what to expect and how many showings per sale and days on market at certain price points. And then she goes back to her client, right? Here, now you got my cell.
Yep.
Call me anytime.
We have to support each other. We should be trying to sell each other's product. It should be a community of push together.
Yeah.
It works so much better. And I say this to sellers all the time. I will reach out to every agent in our area. I will make sure we're on open house together. I will make sure I've been through those houses. I will make sure I know who's showing their houses so that they're showing yours as well. Yeah. But if you don't support your colleagues, you're not going to have that kind of relationship, and that hurts your sellers.
It does. It really does. Yeah, you have to be more collaborative than anything, especially in this market, but in any market.
And why not?
Yeah.
Right? If you know that if I send you somebody to show a property, I certainly hope if I had a competitive property, you're saying, Sarah, this person was in and out in 3 minutes. I don't know really, their client didn't even show up, just as a heads up.
Yeah.
I would never not want another agent to have the information I have to help their client.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a good mindset. So, okay, so let's go down to you're knowledgeable about your community. You happen to live in your community, which might not have to be a
no, it works
positive.
For me.
Okay,
time wise, it works
now,
for me.
Now, what do you do for marketing? Do you flyer? Do you what do you do?
I do a lot of things. So I when I started in the business, I wasn't very traditional. I'd never door knocked. I'd never cold called. I still don't door knock or cold call. Mm-hmm. It's just never something I've learned to do well.
Okay.
I always put myself into an event, whether it was my event or some other event where I could network the event. I think it's very easy to win someone over or gain their trust when you're face to face. I don't know how flyers are effective when you just blanket drop a flyer against 20 other flyers and expect someone to call you off that flyer. What is the follow-up off that flyer? Yeah. So if I was going to use a flyer as an example for agents thinking, well, I drop flyers all the time. My flyers are very specific. So if someone sells in my community and they sell very quick for a great price and I think, wow, that was a good sale, I'm going to mass market that area, even if it's not my sign, right? Because I know everyone in that pocket's going, why did that house sell for that? Why did it sell so quick? What was so special about that house? So
you'll send a flyer out on a sale that's not yours.
And mine too. But if it's in my farm area, absolutely, I will work the sign regardless. I will then send out agents to door knock the area to answer those questions. And then I'll also we do a lot of online market updates just for specific areas. But I never go so big. Like I always find when I started, I would be competing against, Christopher Inviata or
who's that?
Sam McDaddy, right? They were so blanketed everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'd get this big, beautiful, expensive magazine, and I'd be like, I've never met Sam McDaddy. And I love Sam McDaddy.
Yeah,
he's lovely.
He's a good guy.
But I found it was much easier to focus on a very tight area. So when I train my agents to market, I say, pick your 4 favorite streets. Why do you like these 4 streets? What can you speak to about these 4 streets? Why would people want to move on to these 4 streets?
Yeah.
And mass market to those 4 streets. And then it grows out from there.
So you don't have a monthly mailer that goes out?
No.
And then you don't door knock?
No.
Kyle, we got to look at our monthly mailers. So it's interesting, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because for us, we do monthly mailers. And
and they're great. I've done
and
them
they're
in the
always
past.
and it's top of mind. And I feel for the community that we're in, the 2,600 homes and change, it does well staying top of mind. Now I get people that are like, stop sending me these, or these are great kindling for the fire, right? Because we're out in the country, people still have real wood fires here.
I still have a wood burning fire.
Okay, good. And then other people, they hate it until they're ready to sell, and then all of a sudden they pick it up and they're like, I'm going to call Tyler. So it's a love-hate relationship because it is expensive.
It is.
Right?
And maybe it's what allows you to stay networked. Like your network is very vast. Like your geographical area is very vast.
It is.
Mine was much tighter.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to network face to face, like touch to touch, than a flyer.
And I think too, for somebody that's in the industry that's newer, like to send out flyers on a monthly basis is a big budget for them. So
huge. And who knows them off that flyer?
So what would you recommend?
I would say partner with an agent in your area. Ask if you can do open houses at their property. Ask if you can market their property, right? Yeah. Because then you start to get the feed underneath you. You start to look like a more local expert because you have something to promote.
Okay.
Right?
And then in terms of events, what type of events would they do?
Well, some years we run like 80 to 90 events or are in 80 to 90 events. Like we have 8 events in the next 9 days.
Okay, so what are we talking?
So we do design events, which are great for everyone who just wants a fun night out. So it's a real thank you event for a lot of our clients. And we use local design houses across the city, so different designers.
So what is it? So it's like like an open house for a designer, or something?
We do a full presentation.
Okay.
So like, what are the newest design trends? What are you looking to renovate? Planning renovation budget. So this design event this year is renovating your ROI. Like, what's your return on investment? And it's at a local design house, like a construction company.
I was going to ask where. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so it's at a construction company. So
they're a renovation company. They're amazing.
Okay.
So we're promoting them, but we get to use their space and invite all our clients in to see their beautiful showroom, right?
And you would promote that through like a mailers, emails?
And I personally text and call probably 200 people.
Wow.
Why would you run an event if you're not going to personally call and text 200 people?
Yeah. You hear that? So, like, I mean, I guess too, it's still legwork. Like, I mean, as dominant you are in the marketplace, you're still doing that.
Oh, you have to do it even more so. People always want to chip you off if you're near the top.
Yeah.
Right? Where do you set your sights? You always set your sights to the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I use every event that we run as an information source for our clients, and I use it as an opportunity for me to connect with my clients.
Yes, because you're always talking real estate.
Always.
Right? Like my wife, I mean, she has her license as well. She's at home. We just had a baby.
Congrats.
But she always says like sometimes she's like wah 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 wah, because it's like the same stuff, but it's just changed differently, right? And you get to it in different conversations from different spots. So it's interesting, but it is like, even in our office, when we have a meeting and we talk about something that's happening either in the community or in real estate, you find a way to add that into your conversations. And it's a funny thing.
It's easy in Canada. Think how many people own homes.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what their home's worth. Everyone wants to know when's the right time to sell. Everyone wants to know what's going to affect the market.
Yeah.
So if you can't talk to people about that, then you need to practice talking to people about that.
So if you're starting today, right? You just get your real estate license. We've already told people it's more beneficial for them to focus on a small little niche market, learn that, and then grow from there. What's the first thing that you would do?
I can tell you the first thing I did.
Door knock.
No.
Because she doesn't door knock. You believe that?
I called the 3 biggest agents at RE/MAX Escarpment. Okay. And asked them how I could help them.
Really? Who was it?
Drew Wilcott.
Yeah.
I think it was, he doesn't work for RE/MAX. I think it was, anyways, there's 2 other names. One person I wrote a personal letter to. Okay. And he wrote me back. And it was literally, how can I help you?
Okay. So then what happened out of that?
I did their open houses for them. Yeah. I did some mail stuffing for them. I did some calling for them, follow up with dead leads for them.
Did you work for them, or did you?
No, just offered my time. It was before big teams were really a thing.
Yeah.
And Drew was amazing. He's an amazing force to be reckoned with. And there was great things to learn there. And I learned that I really wanted to be an individual agent that could speak to my clients directly all the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that if I grew a team and I grew that platform, that they were going to be speaking from the same line that I was speaking.
Yes.
So I did learn a lot from those guys. But I think as a new agent, you can't just step out the door and be like, I have my license. Like we see so many people, right? I think they do need to reach out to people that are leading the way in their area and ask.
And it does take time, right?
It does.
I find, and just on that note too, if you guys are going to take Sarah's advice and contact some of the top agents in your area, don't just send an email, okay? Because I never respond to those. If somebody calls me and says, hey, Tyler, I'm so-and-so, can we do this or can we collaborate? That's when I'm more apt to say yes, or you can market my listing.
Oh, yeah, because we get like 50 of those emails a day.
Yes.
Right? And you're like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You couldn't even pick up the phone and call me?
I'm sure you're great, but we need to call people. And I think our industry, that's starting to get a little bit forgotten about.
Well, I even say that to my young agents. I'm like, what do you mean you're docu-signing? You're sitting right in front of the client. They're like, they don't know how to sign an offer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and for me, I do as much as I can pen to paper because, again, people need to see the reality of what your value is. And if you're not sitting in front of them and it's just a click, 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 your value drops really quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I always want to know everyone understands exactly what they're signing and how I'm protecting them.
Signing in person is a rush. Like does
is.
Everything make sense? Yes. Now all that's left to do is sign the contract, and you pull the contract out and they sign right there. Because sometimes, they need to think about it and DocuSign and whatnot. Right. But even having somebody come into the office and signing, I think is really important to start off the process.
It starts the trust of the relationship, because if you can sit and explain a legal document to someone, they understand that you understand your job and the value of your job. It's a great stepping stool. So if you're just clicking it to them because you're too panicked to explain what's in that contract, then you need to back it up.
Yeah. And then you need to know the contract, right?
Oh, yeah.
Know your market, know the contract. You should be able to, our guys here in the office, they have to be able to explain every single line and what that means.
Every single piece.
All right?
And it's always great when you get an engineer client and you actually have to go word for word.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? All right. So we've got events. You don't do door knocking. I would recommend door knocking. But would you, you have agents in your office that door knock, right?
They do. Our new agents, I think it's a great way for them to learn their communication skill and be able to present the information in their head.
Okay. Good. So we have events, flyers. Sometimes you don't saturate the area with flyers.
No.
And then what else would you be doing? You have your school meetings or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you're educated, that whenever somebody has a question about real estate, you are there to ask the question.
You're there to answer the question or guide the conversation for sure.
Okay, good. Okay, so we should almost, as agents, be able to step up to the plate on that one. Like
you should be able to.
If somebody's talking about real estate in general, you have no problem navigating to them and having that conversation.
My husband and I will rarely go out for dinner or rarely travel together. And he's my best friend. He is the love of my life. But he will get pulled into every conversation in every restaurant. I can't tell you how many times I've ordered a meal and he's off talking to someone because they started talking about real estate.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah, you can't resist.
But I also find the connections I think Jim Rohn would always say that if you plant the seed, something will grow.
Right.
And having those, planting a seed in a restaurant, all of a sudden that could lead to a listing.
It always does. It always does.
All right.
I can network things back to, I can be standing in someone's house and I go, wow, your kid was the male athlete in 2014. I'm like, Chris Logue was his coach. And they're like, yeah, that's why you're here. And I don't know it until I'm into a kid's bedroom.
Yeah, it's funny. Even for us with door knocking, we had a listing the other day. My wife door knocked 2 years ago.
There you go.
And you make an impression or you have a great conversation and all of a sudden,
But beyond the impression, the trick I think a lot of new agents need to learn is it's not a one snap touch.
Yes.
Right? sometimes I'll look at a listing and I'll be like, wow, 9 years later. And here we are finally, Mr. Smith. Like, you know, I've only contacted you 5,000 times.
Yeah.
Right?
That was easy.
You know?
And I think for newer agents too, they're so focused on the right now business that they'll drop everything else, right? And it's so sad because, you know, creating that trust for a lot of people, like when you're selling their biggest asset, I wouldn't just jump to anybody and they're like, okay, do you want to sell? No, okay, see you later.
Right.
And then they're jumping to the next one, right? Or focusing just on social media as opposed to building the actual connections.
Right.
I find it very interesting.
And you need all those platforms. Like we do our SEO, we do our social media, we have our website. We are marketing on all those levels to be competitive. But I think in 2025, a lot of agents have to look at this. This is an incredible opportunity year to create long-lasting relationships because people are really looking at what am I going to do in the next 3 years?
Yeah.
Right? So why wouldn't you be having those conversations? The percentage of people making an immediate decision are very small, right? And you're fighting a very tiny little pool of people. So why not lay out the people that are going to come down the pipe?
And the competition's increased, right?
Yeah.
So no, and I'd agree with you. And I think like based on some of our experience with agents in our office, you know, they come on gung ho with a couple funny social media videos. The consistency is not there, but once they get connection and people interact, I'm like, okay, great. Did you invite them out for coffee, or did you know? And nothing comes from it.
Right.
So, but I think that like focusing on the connection and like my dad would say, you know, you focus on the people, and they need to know that you care about them.
Yeah, focus on the people and follow up with the people. It's a lot of work. You have to follow up with people all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Rejection.
All the time.
All the time. Okay, so you guys, if you're dealing with rejection, so does Sarah. So
all the time.
All the time. For a newer agent coming in, what would be the biggest tip for them? And I know we've talked on a lot of things, but what do you think would be?
I think you just said it. Don't expect just that you're going to run from one deal to the next. Yeah. Lay out the groundwork. I always tell my new agents to come in with a budget. You're not making money, even if you're a rock star for 3 months. Yes. Right? So how are you financially planning to step into a marketplace that's not going to pay you to go to work?
Yes.
Right? And I think a lot of people think, oh, I get to earn $10,000 today. Well, where does that $10,000 get spread out? And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the younger agents or the new people into the marketplace are looking for it for a quick, immediate financial success. And it's not. You and I, we've both been in the business almost 20 years, and we know the amount of hours, diversity that we have to play as salespeople to make that financial ends constantly functional for us.
Okay.
Right.
So know the budget, know your neighborhood. All right. If they are going to, so they don't have to live in their neighborhood. We've already discussed that. Now, one thing I'd like you to touch on is the event. So you had 80 events. Okay. How do you have time?
Well, because I have an incredible staff, right?
So are you there at every event?
I try to be, yes. Now I might just be there. So we did an event on Sunday. It's one of my favorite, Halton Retirement Expo. So we have 78 vendors. I don't know how many staff on the floor. Hundreds of people come through to meet all of our vendors, right? Well, I was there for 45 minutes between appointments and open houses, and I just walked the whole room, thanked all the vendors, ran into a ton of clients, let clients know when I was going to be there so they could stop in at the same time, and left. But the event went all day. But
the vendor event includes, like who?
Every retirement home in Halton, every stay-in-place aid to help people stay in their homes, every yoga master that wants to train with seniors, like all sorts of fun vendors.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that seems like a daunting task.
I have incredible staff. That's the one piece that maybe.
So if somebody's doing an event, okay, they're starting their event, they do their first event, they get 5 people, 3 people. What do you say to them?
Well, who did they call to only get 3 people?
Let's just say they do.
Okay, but in life, most of the groups you are more than 3 people.
Yes.
Right? So if you have children and go to a school, each child's in a class of at least 20.
Yeah.
So how do you only have 3 people? Because those people don't know you're in real estate.
Okay.
Right? And they don't know that you're offering up something that could help them. If you're only offering up something that's going to help you, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to be offering up something that is exciting for the general public, that they're going to get something out of it. If I'm 89 and I can't decide if I'm going to live at LaSalle, Pearl and Pine, the Williamsburg, where I'm going to go, and Sarah's giving me every vendor and one location so I can ask my questions, that's beneficial to me. So guess what? I'm probably going to call Sarah Logue to get the price on my house so I can make that move. Yeah. Because Sarah knows this matters to me.
So events seem to be a really big part of your business.
They are, and it was out of necessity that they were. It allowed me to be in a room in front of a lot of people all at once.
Yes, as opposed to individual.
Yeah.
That's smart.
But it can start with coffee dates. If you don't have the funds to run a big event, or you don't think you have the reach to run a big event, why wouldn't you just ask a local coffee shop that's competing against the big Starbucks? Yeah. And say, do you mind if I take 2 of these tables one night and just have a little market update with 5 or 6 people?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's kind of where I was going. So, I mean, even if it is 5 or 6 people, it's 5 or 6 more people that know you're a professional or an area expert, right, in your database.
And they're committed to coming to an event, which is more than committed to opening the door to talk to you at a door knock.
Yes. Fair enough.
Okay.
80 events. I'm exhausted even hearing about it. But it does make sense. Okay. But I do find it interesting because it's a more calculated marketing system. It's not a spray and pray system. Right. No. So the dollars that you could spend over here, you'll direct them here, and then you get more one-on-one.
And that's why we're not the billboard, the newspaper, the bus stop, the buses. Yeah. Like I've never been good at that because I don't know how to do the puke on an area and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, do you think you're going to start puking on an area and hoping it sticks?
No.
No?
No.
So where you are now, you've got all your admin. Okay, you've got 6 admin. You've got 11 agents.
I think we have 12 now.
12 agents. 12, you and Chris. Okay.
Yep.
What's next? Like, where do you see yourself? You're 20 years in. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, 20 years? Like, because your business is so you.
Right.
How do you remove yourself, or how do you what's going on?
Well, I think I gave you the hint to that. I don't go to an appointment anymore by myself.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm training, and I don't want to say mini-me's, but I'm training people that run on the same moral line as I do. Right. Okay. And they all have their unique style, and I love their styles, and I love what I learned from them. So I think the more time I spend with these agents, the more likely is I will be able to have a wider net, because I'm training people specifically to manage Oakville, to manage South Burlington, to manage Milton, so that they can all be area experts in their pockets.
And then where do you go?
I guess I get to stay at the top, making sure they're all okay.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. No other further plans? No more rentals in Guelph? I can guarantee if Chris was here, he'd have something crazy going on.
Chris always has something going on.
Okay.
You'd have to ask Chris to come in, because he is definitely the future planner, the developmenter. He's the big thinker, and my job is to make sure all the pieces line up for his big plan.
To manage it all. Mm-hmm. See, I knew it. I knew he was the brains behind it. Well, that's interesting. Okay, well, that's great. So, thank you for your time.
No, it was a pleasure.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to anybody out there thinking either starting to be an area expert, or...
If you're going to be an area expert, start with who's already working your area and see if there's something you can learn from them first, right? Yes. And don't be scared to hand business to another area expert, because it's going to make your clients a lot happier and create success. You sold our clients quickly. Now I get to sell them a house in my area. Yeah. Partner with your good colleagues.
That's
great. Don't look at every agent as an enemy. Okay. They are your partners.
And I think that's I don't know about you, but since I've started, I think that's starting to change, right? There isn't so much I've been selling for 20 years or 30 years and you're not going to tell me how to run my business. I do feel like agents right now are more collaborative.
They are.
As opposed to combative. Because when I first started, it would be nothing for an agent to bite my head off.
Right.
And you'd think, okay, I'm going to get that,
Hopefully you didn't.
Yeah. right? Like, you'll rue the day.
They're probably not licensed anymore.
No,
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
And I mean, the ebbs and flows of real estate's interesting too, the longer you're in it. But, okay, so what's your favorite thing about real estate, just as we finish up? And what's the worst?
They're probably one and the same.
Okay.
People.
Clients.
People. I absolutely love my clients like they're family. Like I would do anything for my clients to protect them.
Yeah.
And then there's clients that don't know that that's what I would do for them. So when they accuse me of something or don't trust me, it's so heart-stabbingly painful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do need that trust,
You
right?
do.
If they're gonna hire you, they should trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So I would agree along those lines.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to love people if you're in real estate.